Hi and welcome to episode 7 of the Marple Journal Podcast, a show all about the amazing people and businesses we have in our local area. I'm Sophie Cook, your host, and today we have Jo in the studio with us, and we're actually in a bit of a different studio today at Cheshire Podcast Studio, so that's exciting. We've got Jo here, the dog trainer's trainer, recent Marple resident, very recent actually, TV presenter, author, parliamentary speaker, international speaker, competitor, and so much more. But I'm going to let her introduce herself. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. I sound so professional.
You are professional.
I know, but I surprise myself. Sometimes I do my "This Is Who I Am" skit, and then I think to myself, like, oh my God, I've done so much. And it feels bizarre to me.
Honestly, I was reading that out and I was like, when will it end?
I know.
It keeps going.
I know. So let me tell you from the beginning. So I've got a degree in psychology and a postgrad in animal behaviour. I've published 3 books. I have done 5 primetime TV shows.
Wow.
And lots of like little bits. So like expert on BBC News at 10, like Jeremy Vine, Good Morning, This Morning, all of that type of thing.
Yeah.
When I did loads of TV things. And then I was asked to speak in Parliament 4 times. So I've spoken in Parliament quite a lot. And I'm on the steering committee for certain things for the Parliament when it comes to things like dangerous dogs. Because I'm an accredited expert witness, which means I help dogs that get in trouble. When they get in trouble with the law, I say I help dogs. I don't. I help the judge make a decision as to what to do with the dog and why the dog did it.
Right.
And then, I've owned 2 quite significant businesses, both of which were training dog trainers. And with that, I've kind of toured the world. So I've been lucky enough to do seminars everywhere, like all across Europe. So like Paris, Denmark, that side of things, and then also all the way across America. So we did like California, San Francisco, all the way down to like Seattle, and then like Alabama and places like that as well. So yeah, New Zealand, those types of places. And then I can't think of what else I've done. That's about it, I think.
That's about it.
I say that's about it.
A million things. You're like, that's it. That's nothing.
Yeah.
So sounds like an amazing journey you've had. And your story's going to be incredible. I mean, I know snippets of it, but I'm really excited to get into this discussion. Why do you do what you do to begin with?
That's such a tough question to answer because what I do is so varied now. So when I first started doing it, it was definitely because I love dogs and I love animals and I love the relationship between us and dogs and this like incredible, weird, like co-evolution that's happened so that the whole of our relationship with them depends on them understanding us and us understanding them. So I often feel like I'm just a translator, but I love all of that. I love science. I've always really enjoyed finding the little tiny snippets of science that apply to real life and like give us insights so that we can repeat things or so that we can do things better. And I kind of fell into the job that I've got in many ways. I didn't really plan to do anything like presentery. I never wanted to do TV or anything like that. It just kind of happened. But then since it happened, I love it. Like I really enjoy it. I never have any problem talking in front of people. I probably find it easier talking in front of like 300 people than I do talking to one person in many ways.
Yeah.
And so I've really enjoyed it, and it's without a doubt it's been that my career has been the thing that's allowed me to survive a lot of trickiness in my life. Dog training itself, like the mechanics of training a dog up for like competition or for protection is something that I can immerse myself in and enjoy it and get into such a state of flow that I can forget anything that's going on. It's definitely been like a form of therapy.
Escape. Yeah. So talk me through then your career journey.
So I went to school. I grew up, I was born in Guildford, which is like a city. It's quite urban. And then when I was about 7, we moved to Sussex, like proper countryside-y Sussex. And I remember being like so thrilled because I always loved animals. My mum promised me I could get a dog. So they took me to like the local rescue centre and I picked out this Springer Spaniel cross setter called Toby. And I was like, this is my dog. I was really happy about it. Started horse riding lessons. Came back from school, couldn't believe it that some of my friends in my class had a farm. And I was like, this is crazy. And I always had a real entrepreneurial mum. So when we were back in Guildford, she started a business making clothes, just a market stall. But then she she won this prize for like the best market stall, and they gave her a studio in Farnham, and she her best friend ended up marrying Sophie Baxter's dad.
Oh, right.
And she ended up doing all the bridesmaid dresses for the wedding.
Wow.
And so it kind of took off. It took a life of its own. It's called the Little Originals. And it kind of took a life of its own. And in the end, she sold that business so that she could go to night school. She then went to night school and got GCSEs, A-levels, went to university, studied to be a teacher. Almost immediately after becoming a teacher, they invited her back as a lecturer. She started lecturing at university and did her master's.
Wow.
And so I had that as a female role model. So I was always really ambitious. But she gave me some really, really good advice, which was always keep getting more and more qualified and more experience in whatever you feel passionate about. And that will lead to a job.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, that's definitely the advice that I followed, because when I tell you the route, it looks like I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I had not a clue. So I finished school. I was never brilliantly academic. I come from a long line of dyslexics, and so I struggled with like spelling and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed human psychology. Got my A-levels, went to uni, decided last minute to do applied psychology, just because I thought I love understanding brains and people and stuff. Did that. Got a degree, came out of my degree, had not a clue what to do. So like worked in bars, did all kinds of bits and bobs. And I thought, well, I really enjoy writing and I really enjoy that type of thing. I was bang into music at the time, especially living in Brighton. There's like, I always think Manchester is kind of like a giant big brother of Brighton. Like there's like so many similarities. Yeah. It's like a really big music scene in Brighton, like there is here, really, like a really particular vibe.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd go and do my NCTJ. So I went and did that, which is like a qualification that you get to become a journalist. I did that, but didn't really lead to much. And then a job came up for the Blue Cross, which is a big animal charity. Yeah. And it was about like writing a lot of the marketing and stuff for them. Okay. Yeah. So I was like, this is perfect. This is going to put together the fact that I've spent my life riding horses and playing with dogs. Yeah. And already when I did my degree, I kind of could see that I had a bit of a superpower and a bit of an advantage, because I was always noticing the animal behaviour that was kind of similar to the human behaviour. And when I did my dissertation stuff, I pulled in lots of studies about animals and specialised in sort of that type of thing, attachment in young mammals and things like that. And so I kind of knew I had that real passionate interest in animals. So I went for the job, got the job. And then as soon as I got there, I started working on a campaign called Respectable. Right. And it was a campaign because at the time, there was loads of media about breed-specific legislation and pit bulls. Yeah. And the kennels were just full of pit bulls. Every other dog coming in was a staffy or a bully breed. And so we had this whole campaign that I kind of invented that we were going to do, which is all about teaching people everything about specific to bully breeds. Okay. And it was kind of a bit of a selfish one, because I'd just adopted a bully breed, and I thought, this is fantastic. It means I can spend all my time at work studying the dog that I've just taken home.
Perfect.
Ideal. And he was a nightmare of a dog. So he was called Archie. He was like the love of my life. And someone had chopped his ears off. No, yeah, in a public toilet in London.
Oh my God.
And he was a big ginger, like gorgeous thing.
It's gonna make me cry.
Oh, he was just amazing. And so I adopted him. Like as soon as I saw him, I just instantly fell in love with him. And I was like, he's coming home. He looked like a Tom Waits song, he was just amazing. So I brought him home, and so I thought, this Respectable thing, it's like this, it's perfect. Yeah. One of the things I had to do was to go to the behaviour unit, which is like the unit where all the bad dogs go, where all the naughty dogs go to get fixed, right, or to try and get sorted out. And as soon as I walked in, there's a guy called Ryan and a guy called Claire there, and I started talking to them, and like Ryan describes when it happens to him as his brain lit up like a Christmas tree, and that's exactly how it felt. I was like, why did no one give me the careers advice that I needed to be here? Yeah, like this is everything I could possibly ever want from a job. So me being me, I like intensely 1,010% put every aspect of my waking life into doing this job, including things like inventing tons of meetings that I had to have with Ryan and Claire, and just so that I could go out there and watch them work and like understand what they were doing. And so I decided I did my postgraduate while I was working there.
Right.
So that I was kind of getting the practical stuff as well as doing all the sort of theory stuff. So I did that. So then I completed that. And then after doing that, I decided that I wanted to really nestle into that kind of dangerous dog, bully breed stuff. And I wanted to become an expert witness. And I was quite young to become an expert witness, but I was adamant at that point that I'd done a lot of work with a lot of dogs, and that's what I wanted to do. So I started working at a different place. I left that job and I went to the Company of Animals, which is like a big private place. But the main guy that runs it, he does loads of expert witness work. So I went and assisted him on loads of that, as well as getting kind of a finger in the pie and being able to like use the contacts that I got there to assist loads of other people until a point where I thought like I can do this myself. I'm good enough to do this myself. And so I took on a case from a solicitor who I'd been kind of working with as an assistant through them, and they said, look, we'll give you a case and see if the court accepts you, and they did. And so then I started doing it on my own. I left there, and at that point everything kind of got. My whole life got picked up and shaken up like a snow globe because my mum got sick.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was kind of deeply nestled into that career when mum got sick, but not through the door of it. Like I'd kind of done lots of work experience. She knew I wanted to be a dog trainer when she died, but she had absolutely no idea of what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
And she really worried for me. Like I remember telling her when she was sick that I was leaving Company of Animals and that I was going to start my own business off. And she was like, Jo, you're making the mistake of your life. Like I really think you should go and qualify as a vet nurse while you're doing this, just so that you've got something to fall back on. And you're not gonna have contracted hours. Going self-employed is the hardest thing in the world. I remember her saying, you're never going to make a living out of this, which is like laughable looking back now.
Yeah.
But
it's also really interesting because she'd had that entrepreneurial. So is it because she worried kind of where your journey would go, or did she not want that for you? Like that's interesting.
I really don't know. I think it was really different because my mum and dad stayed together until my mum died. And my dad always had a full-time job. So he took over my granddad's cleaning company. And so he always had a full-time job. So I think mum did it, but she was always doing it standing on the financial security of my dad's wage coming in every month. And I remember us having a conversation about her dynamic with my dad and how much it shifted when she was like, what happens? I'm going to earn more money than him.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a really weird, for that generation, I think that's quite a strange dynamic change because,
definitely.
Yeah. And so I think she was like, you're like a single girl and like, you don't want to be doing this on your own. And, you need to have something, you need to be bringing the money in and I'd just got a mortgage for a house in Brighton at that time as well.
Right.
So I think she was worried about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really know. I'd love to be able to like climb up wherever she is and be like, what do you think now, Mum? Like, well done.
Yeah,
Terrible advice you gave me.
I guess it's that parental worry and because you were on your own and kind of that journey's different then for you than it was for her. And I guess her being able to fall back on the stability side of things, but also still being supportive in you doing what you wanted to do. I think what I want to delve into now, obviously you've mentioned you sadly lost your mum.
Yeah.
I know you spoke to me about you had like compounded losses where there was like multiple things in a very short space of time. Can you talk me through that a little bit?
It was crazy. So, and I think some of that was, I don't know, maybe mum kind of saw that coming. And so she was also worried about the timing of it all. So when mum got ill, my dad and my brother, I've got an older brother and I had my dad then, and they just didn't cope with it very well. And I know statistically now that is so common. Yeah. Like men are terrible at grief. Like they are rubbish at it. Like compared to them, we are so good at grief. Like we're like made for this pain. I sometimes think that like maybe because like we have to have childbirth and periods and stuff, we are physiologically just better at coping in this kind of traumatic situation than they are. And because they're kind of maybe born more to protect from it. When it happens, they just can't manage.
And it's like the stigmas around like being a man or being like the, I guess, strong one.
Yeah. I think also generationally, they met when my mum was like 17, 18.
Yeah.
My dad didn't know who he was without my mum. And she was a very strong character. My dad was always a bit weird. And so I think she kind of covered up a lot of his weirdness.
Right.
And like they kind of grew that way. And so it was sort of all right. And our family dynamic before mum died was super strong. Like write a movie about it, beautiful, strong. It was, we used to go in my mum's VW camper van on a Sunday down to Norman's Bay Beach and have bacon sandwiches and let the dogs run, all of us. Like we went on family holidays way into adulthood, and we used to hire a house down in Oxford, set up a camera in one of the rooms and do Come Dine With Me just between the lot of us, and we weren't allowed to watch the ratings until the end of the week. And then
that's like, iconic. I love that.
It was just amazing. But that was the sort of, we were the family that other families were jealous of. My brother, who at the time, he's happily married now, but at the time he was very promiscuous. He used to bring back girls all the time. And he used to bring them back to the family home. And I think he did it because he was like, this is what you could win. You know, like this is what you could have a little slice of this. And it was,
you want this.
Yeah, you get to be a part of this. Like, who would say no? And actually, so much so that me and my mum befriended so many of the girls that he brought home. Like, I'm still friends with two of them now. Like, they became like really good friends. It's like,
he's like, we're not together anymore, and you're like, listen,
I know, but
we're
she
friends.
was so lovely.
Yeah,
like,
you get together.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. But it was, he would use that as like a showcase because that's how beautiful and strong the family was. And so when mum got sick, Tom and dad they just couldn't manage. And like I say, like statistically, men are more likely to isolate themselves, they're more likely to suffer with mental health, they're more likely to die. They're just more likely to just die when that happens. They're not good at it, and they weren't good at it. And my brother did, I think, a very common thing, which is like, she wouldn't want me to see her like that. I don't really want, and kind of just didn't want to be there and was absent. But he was my older brother, and I forgive him now, but at the time I felt a lot of like abandonment of just like, I'm sitting here ringing around our like relatives, telling them I'm like feeding our paralysed mum with a spoon. Where are you? Type thing. And my dad just lost it. I think he just lost everything, like totally lost everything. And couldn't find himself in amongst that chaos at all. Like a lot of men do, I think. And so mum died. She gave her body to medical science, which is like a typical mum thing to do. Like, just couldn't be more mum than doing that. So she gave her body to medical science, but it left me in a situation where I didn't have a place to visit. And I don't think anybody really realises how important the body of a human is in grief.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have thought of it.
No, you don't until, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm not religious. And at the time I wasn't even really spiritual, really. So I remember having conversations with her and her saying, like, you know, that it means that they're going to use my body for something. And I was like, that's great. Like, that's a really cool thing to do. Like, not even thinking about it. And then afterwards being like, I want to somehow feel her molecules, and there isn't anywhere I can do that.
Yeah.
And then latterly, and this is kind of where things started to get a bit dark, is that latterly I found out that actually that when you give your body to medical science, they do withhold anything that they don't use, to sound macabre, and they turn it into ashes, and the families do get an opportunity to use it. Yep, they also put it in there's also a grave for it and everything, and the families get to know. But at the time, like, my dad was in bits, he was all over the place, he didn't tell us. He told us none of it. He didn't tell us about a big ceremony that happened in London where they say their names, and the students that have worked on those bodies come forward and tell stories of how they've learned things from them and stuff. Didn't know any of it. So he fell apart. And again, like a beautiful statistical cliche, like lots of men do at that age when they lose their wife, he was desperate to find someone new to fill that gap. And I remember my brother set up an online profile for him, which we laughed about quite a lot at the time. And he was fighting to find somebody, but obviously wasn't in the healthiest place to do that. So we'd get very obsessive about people and stuff. But eventually did find somebody, again, as the statistics will tell you, married within 2 years, sold the family house, isolated from the family, didn't want to speak to anyone, didn't really want anything to do with anyone, had a really weird relationship, and just didn't just completely just lost him. He was just gone. And so within about 6 months of losing mum, like there was a 6-month period where I'd broken up with my ex at the time.
Right.
We'd been together for about 7 years. And he was like one of my mum's, like him and my mum were like this. They'd go to the architectural salvaging place together and stuff. And I don't think our relationship would have ever survived her dying.
Right.
I think I knew that.
Was that a lack of support or just?
I don't know. Maybe. I think a lot of our relationship was built on the family dynamic. We had bought a house just before Mum died. We'd bought a house like 8 minutes from their house.
Get you.
We'd done the house up with my mum. Like everything was a real like tight family network. And when that dissipated, I think we stopped working. I think we were outgrowing each other as well. We're still friends now.
Oh,
like he's
nice,
wicked. He's an actor and he's fantastic, amazing. But just it just was never going to work. So I split up with him, which everyone said was a bad idea because of the timing. But at the time, I was like, no, I need to do what I need to do. So I split up with him. Mum died. I had to have my dog put down. Stanley, I had to get put down. Dad was just absent, just gone. And then my brother moved to Australia.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so it all happened. And I remember going to the hospice were amazing, and they put me onto a grief specialist that they do like for free when you have that. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to go. I don't need that. And then I was like, well, maybe I do need to do that. I've lost my motivation for life.
Yeah.
So I went in and started speaking to her, and I remember her saying like, I don't know how you're standing up. She was like, I don't know how you're standing up. And I was like, oh, I'm fine. Like, she was like, no, you're not. And you need to kind of like appreciate that you're not. But I don't think I did for a good couple of years afterwards. I think I just kind of like pressed on. I felt a lot of guilt, a lot of anger towards my dad, because I felt like he was meant to be this protective male that was meant to like hold the family together, and instead he was like, see ya.
Yeah.
Which I don't feel anymore, but I did at the time.
Yeah.
I kind of feel sorry for him now, because I just think you just lost yourself.
Yeah.
Like he was one person for 36 years when he was with my mum.
Yeah.
And then when she died, he was no longer that human anymore.
And then he's got another person kind of taking over his life a bit.
Yeah.
And not in a positive way, it sounds.
Yeah. And then I think I probably reminded him of her. I remember that being said once.
Right. It's like facing the grief as well.
Yeah. Looking at it all the time. And I would want to talk about her.
Yeah.
And obviously,
as you do.
Yeah. But you can't in those situations. And yeah. So that was really rough. And I think one bit of advice that I would give to anybody who loses a parent is that nobody who hasn't lost a parent can quite fully understand how it feels. Like suddenly you wake up, your parents, you don't have that parental support, and you realise that you've been walking on a tightrope the whole time, and you'd never recognised it. And suddenly you're like, shit, I'm walking on a tightrope. And then you look down, and there had been a safety net until that moment, but now there isn't. And you're like, shit, now I'm not only walking on a tightrope, but there isn't anything underneath me if I fall. Like it just isn't there. Yeah. And it's this real lack of proprioception. You don't know which way is up anymore. And it puts you in an incredibly vulnerable space, but you don't know it. You don't realise it. You think it's grief, and you experience it as grief, and you go through grief and shock and all the things that you're meant to go through when you lose people.
Yeah.
But I think it's really easy to not see that lack of support it just opens you up as a vulnerable human.
Yeah.
And I think what comes with that is that very often when you've had the type of nice, beautiful, middle-class, countryside-y background, you're completely untrained to spot people that would take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Like you're just released into the jungle, and you're like, well, I don't know how to spot this. And then those very people that will take advantage of you are absolute experts in hiding those traits.
And you don't have that support network
to go, oi.
This isn't right, or I don't think that sounds quite right, or to worry for you.
Absolutely.
You lost that whole support network.
100%.
Dad, brothers,
no
mum.
one's there. No one's there anymore. So no one's looking out for you.
Following that was my question next was going to be, what kind of relationships did you get in after that point?
So weirdly, it was only about a week after my mum died that I went to this big conference, and it was called WOOF, and it was a great conference actually, a really good dog conference. And I remember I was obviously in the weirdest space, because I remember not one of my questions, but I remember watching this presenter who I found super inspirational, called Susan Friedman, who's amazing. She's an amazing human. Well, she's primarily a bird behaviourist actually, but she also does lots of stuff with dogs and lots of stuff with humans.
Yeah.
And I remember her speaking and me being really like inspired by her. And afterwards there was this quite intimate question and answers bit, and I remember going to speak to her, and I remember saying to her, "Can you adopt me? Because I've just lost my mum." And like now I look back and I think, oh, like awkward, how embarrassing. Like, because I'm now the Susan Friedman in so many people's lives, and if someone had said that to me, I'd just be like, sorry, what? Sorry, what? And at the time, I remember her kind of going, when did you lose your mum? And me being like, 2 weeks ago. And I could just see her being like, oh, you poor thing.
She's like, here's a therapist.
Yeah, I think that's where I was at. I was like, please help me, but I didn't know it. But also at that conference, there was a guy there who I'd known from social media. Him and his girlfriend did a podcast, and he was a very like well-known guy, and he kind of came over and was like, I remember going back to my friends and saying to them, like, oh my God, that guy is an absolute knob. I was like, he is all mouth and muscle, like just, what? I do not want this. And him being like quite flirty with me, asking me about my tattoos. And he was like, can you come on the podcast with me? And I was like, and I was only just kind of getting a sort of social media following at that point. I didn't like, now I'm like quite well known in my industry, but at the time I wasn't. And I remember being kind of flattered by that as well, being like, oh, they want to speak to me. And, that's good. But then it also like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And not my normal type. So previous to this, I'd always gone for athletic actors, like sports people, like usually very tall, dark, like quite handsome looking kind of thing. And he was just like the opposite of that. Like he was quite short, very, very stocky, ex-military, skinhead, like. And I think back now, I think, like, was I rebelling from my mum? Like, because it's like the opposite of what my mum would have wanted. Like, she was a real pacifist, like deep-rooted in like peace and harmony and love, and find someone who's kind and find someone who's gentle and all this. But anyway, so I met him there. A couple of months later, I did the podcast with him and his then girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I remember him being like outrageously flirty with me on that, and me just thinking like, oh, he's definitely flirting with me. This is weird.
Yeah, I feel uncomfortable now, actually.
Like, this is a bit weird. And actually later when we got together, I remember someone sending it to me and saying, my God, you should listen to this. And me then listening to it and being like, oh my God, how did she sit through that? But anyway, and now I realise how she sat through it, because anyway. So fast forward about 3 years, and in that time what has happened is business has absolutely boomed. So I started as the School for Dogs, I called it, and it was like a behaviour clinic and training business. And by the end of the first year, I'd got like 5 staff working for me. It was like just went. I started to develop a bit of a social media following. I started doing this thing called the Real Dog Yoga, which isn't what it sounds like. It isn't like doing yoga with your dogs. It was.
I would love that.
Yeah, which is fantastic, but it wasn't that. It was teaching dogs like certain postures and positions that helps them to recover from stress.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I'd done it for a dog that I was working with a vet with, and she said, look, this is insane. This protocol you've done is just brilliant. She's like, what can you formulate it into a like instructional manual for me, because I'd like to give it to other vets.
Yeah.
Started writing it, and a friend of mine was like, why don't you give this to a publisher? Like, this is great. And I was like, oh, maybe I could. So I just like looked up a load of books that I liked and sent it to a whole bunch of people, and ended up with 2 different publishers like playing off for it.
Oh wow.
And then one of them got it. And so I published that book. So I'd had like a book published. The thing was going really well. And then a friend of mine, Sarah. So when I did my postgraduate, I did it in animals, not just dogs. So I did dogs and cats.
Yeah.
And I had gone to a couple of cat conferences, and Sarah was quite a well-known cat behaviourist, and she'd done like The Secret Life of Cats and different television shows. She was very good. And she rang me one day out of the blue and was just like, look, I'm meant to be doing this filming for Sky One, but I'm pregnant. And you're not meant to work with cats in that capacity when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
She's like, I just can't do it. She was like, they were asking me who I could put forward, and I just kept thinking of you. Like, I kept thinking you'd be really good at this. And I was just like, back then, at that time, I was this super confident, like, I'd lost my mum, but nothing really other than that bad had ever happened to me
Yeah.
before. And I was kind of scrounging around, trying to work out where I was in this like crazy world where there wasn't any family anymore.
Yeah.
Just saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
And just being like, right, I'm just going to put everything into work and we'll see what happens. So I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. She was like, come down to Bristol. They're going to film it like in 3 days. And I was
Why
like,
not?
I was like, fine. I was like, and in my head, I remember thinking like, if this all falls apart, it doesn't really matter.
No.
Like nothing, like what could possibly happen?
And you won't be given an opportunity if they didn't think you could do it.
Exactly.
So
So there I am, like at, I don't know, probably 29, 30, and I was like, looked like I was about 12, and like I'm going to trot down to Bristol, put me up in this amazing hotel. I remember ringing my friend being like, look where I am, this is amazing. And it was like my first thing at telly, so it's really exciting.
Yeah.
And Sky One, which was quite a big deal.
Yeah.
Cats versus Dogs, it was called. And there was like 3 shoots I had to do. And the premise was I had to talk about the science of domestication of cats compared to dogs.
Right.
And then there was a pet dog and a pet cat, and we were training them to do 3 tricks. And then I had to leave the owners with training plans to do the 3 tricks.
Oh.
And then I had to come back and rate them as to who was better.
Nice.
The cat won, I think. Oh no, I think the dog won, but I can't remember. But anyway, so I remember doing the first bit I had to do, standing there and looking around, and there's this whole like cast and people filming me and sound men putting their hands up my tops and all this sort of stuff that happens on telly that you don't really realise. But yeah, so it's like, hey, this is fun. And I finished the first bit and did it in one take. And the director came to me and he said, listen, have you done this before? And I was like, no. And he was like, you are a complete natural. He was like, you're a dream for us. He was like, I'm about to work on a Channel 4 series. He's like, I think we've already cast it, but I want to put you in as a wild card because I actually think you're perfect for it. You're brilliant. He was like, can I send a crew over to your house tomorrow to do a sizzle reel, which is like a reel that they do where they have you doing a bunch of kind of different stuff that they send to the channel to approve.
Okay.
They were like, can you get a client for tomorrow? Because we want to see you with a client. We want to see you training your own dog. And we want to see you like pieces to camera talking about stuff. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I did it, sorted it. Down they came. Didn't even have a chance to get my hair done. I remember being really upset about that. And I remember being really worried that I had too much cleavage on show. But did it, had Archie there, my pit bull with no ears, like running around, closing curtains, opening things, doing like loads of crazy things. Had this client come in with her little terrier thing and do some chicken clicker training and stuff. And it was great. And they were like, this is fantastic. This is brilliant. And I knew I was up against some real big names. I was up against someone called Victoria Stilwell who does It's Me or the Dog. And I was thinking like, she'll get this. Like, I'm never going to get this. And then I got a call to say, you've got this. Like, we want you. Like, you're in. And I remember just being like, I'm going to do a Channel 4 series. And I remember thinking like, oh, I've got no one to tell. Like, I haven't got my parents to. I could tell my friends, but I was like,
it's not the same.
Like, I was like, oh. But this is really like exciting, but scary, but really exciting. And then I got a call from the guy who had done Woof with, and he said, I've got it as well. We do it together.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And at the time I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, that's cool. Like, why? Like, yeah, like, brilliant. And I remember him when we first started working together, telling me what I wore at the conference and saying to me.
And this was 3 years.
Oh, I don't know how long it was.
Or
I think it's about a year, maybe between a year and 3 years. I can't remember exactly how long it was.
Okay.
It wasn't like a massive amount of time. So I reckon it's probably about a year. But anyway, but I remember him remembering what I wore and me finding that upset and him saying to me, I remember what you wore. You wore a yellow cardigan and a brown scarf and jeans. And I remember thinking like, I'm happy that I'm going to have that. And at the time, and this is the thing, because it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because these days we are taught on social media so much about what to look for. Like, these are the red flags.
Yeah.
And we like words like narcissistic traits, gaslighting, all this stuff has become almost. I've been out to dinner with female friends before, and they've said to me, oh my God, I went on a date yesterday, but this guy was such a narcissist.
It's very casual. It's always talked about.
He opened the door for me, bought me flowers, like love bombing, hello. And like all this stuff is so popularized now that I don't like using those words. Yeah. Because I just think that they've become this like pop colloquial thing that just doesn't do anything. But the only good thing about that becoming such sort of trigger words for this sort of more woke generation is that people are a lot more aware of it. Back then, there was nothing. No. You didn't know. No. Like, love bombing wasn't a thing.
No.
Someone saying that to you was just the most romantic thing in the world.
Yeah.
the most, especially because every relationship I've been in was so healthy up until that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, this guy's like obsessed with me. Like
It's a nice feeling initially. Yeah.
Especially when you fancy them.
Yeah, of course.
Like, and I was brought in by that
flattered.
charisma, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, like, and he's like saying all these things, and he wants to speak to me all the time, and like is desperate to.
It makes
like,
you feel special.
So special.
Yeah.
So special. And you're so like you're brought in like that, like I think them saying things that feels like they can't almost live without you feels like this is true love. I've never known true love before.
It's like a fairy tale.
Like it's incredible.
A very intense fairy tale.
And I remember at the time so he was with someone at the time. We didn't do anything. I was with someone at the time too, actually. We were both with people at the time. I remember him trying it on with me once, but apart from that, like we didn't. I was like, this is never gonna be a thing because I'm with this person, you're with that person. I then broke up with that person and told him. He then broke up with his person, and then immediately rang me and was just like, "Look, I'm moving to England," because he was living in Spain at the time.
Oh right.
And he's like, "I'm moving to England. I want to be with you. This is everything."
Wow.
And again, I was just like, "Wow, this is amazing."
Yeah,
He
he's
just
moving for me.
This is everything. And so he moved, and I remember at the time as well, his ex posting a big thing on social media about like this guy's a narcissist, and at the time the term wasn't banded around like it is now. And I remember her sending me a message saying he's gonna isolate you, he's gonna belittle you, you're gonna be nothing by the time he finishes with you, and then he's gonna leave you just like he's done me. And she was stuck in Spain because he walked away from her business and the house, and then she ended up having to sell it, and it was really difficult to sell. She actually ended up selling it to a friend of mine, but that's by the by. And I remember him saying to me, "She is crazy." Like I remember us laughing about it.
Classic, yeah. No,
she is nuts. Like, she is crazy. She's a liar.
Yeah.
She's crazy. She's obsessed with me. And I remember just thinking,
Psycho
I can see this. Like that's absolutely what it is.
Yeah.
She's a crazy, and like I'm just going to stay away from her because she is nuts, and she's going to have it out for me. And just thinking like that would never ever happen to me. And then all of those things happened to me. So then like fast forward a year, and I'm just about to give birth to his baby. We've decided we're moving to Spain. I've given up all my professional commitments and gone into business with him. And it was like exactly the pattern that he had with his previous girlfriend, apart from the pregnancy thing. I never wanted to move to Spain. I always said like I don't want to go. But he always said like I'm just depressed here, and that's why I'm so angry all the time. And if we move to Spain, then that will all change because that's where my family were from, and this is. And I remember just being like, you know what? If it is all going to change, if he's going to be happy there, like he did live there before, and he did seem happy on social media before. And so I was like, so I'll just do that. I'll drop everything. I don't really want to leave all my friends and all my like the support network I have, but like. That's just what I'll do. I've got a baby. Like, what else can I do?
What are you meant to do?
And there were loads of situations. Like within the first couple of weeks, I remember us having a blazing round, me saying to him, like, I just want you to talk to me normally. Like, stop talking to me like your worst enemy. Because he was very harsh and swore a lot. And and I remember thinking, and him saying to me, you're just not used to it because you've been brought up by parents like your parents, and like your friends, you're like everyone pussyfoots around you. You're just not used to it. Like this is a normal way to speak to each other. And I was like, but it's so volatile. And he was like, this is just the way I am. And me being like, oh, it's me. It's definitely me. I'm sensitive.
It then flips on you, and you're like, oh, am I just the problem? Maybe
so quickly.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quickly your sense of reality shifts. Even now. Even like years and years later, after everything, after like so much trickiness, I still find myself doubting it.
Yeah.
I still find myself looking back and going, did I just make all of this up?
Yeah.
Like, have I made this up?
Yeah.
Is this bad?
Was he actually fine?
I'm actually exaggerating this, and it was a loving relationship, and I just walked away from it. Like, why have I done? Like, I seriously, and I find myself doubting it all the time.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, again, a classic symptom of someone who's gone through that stuff, like that absolutely crippling self-doubt, And things escalated. And sometimes when I look back, I think, for a long time, after I first left him, I thought to myself, a switch. One day we woke up and a switch had gone.
Yeah.
And he had gone from being this wonderful, lovely human into somebody who was. I was walking on eggshells. I couldn't work in the same room as him because I was scared of him shouting at my dogs, and I couldn't, I would fill up the car with petrol just because I was so conscious that if the car wouldn't be full of petrol when he got in the car, there'd be this big tension thing, and like every part of my life was scared about causing tension with him, and like my whole existence, I couldn't talk about anything. I couldn't talk about finances or my mum or work or dogs or anything. And he'd constantly be watching these brutal videos, snuff videos of animals killing each other and going, look at this. And it was like this terrifying thing. And like sometimes I look back and I think that was a switch that happened as a result of a bunch of things happening in his family. But then I think back to like even before we moved to the big mountain house, and there were things, for example, like it was my birthday one year and he ignored it. Like, just ignored it.
What?
Like, nothing.
Didn't acknowledge.
So I woke up, had a cup of coffee, and I was like thinking like, in a minute there's going to be like a birthday card and a present, and like, oh, we're doing this today. And like, to give it some context, the previous year I'd done like a big surprise birthday for him and hadn't told him we were going back to England, and we went back there and all his friends were in a big restaurant and all that sort of thing. But there was like nothing. Like zero, nothing. And I was like, something's going to happen. It got to midday and I rang our business partner and I rang his sister and I was like, I don't want to be horrible because I don't want to make a fuss about this because I think maybe later there's a surprise or something happening. But can you let me know? Because I'm feeling like super anxious about all this. I just feel like and that is the thing about this type of behavior is that it unsteadies you.
Yeah.
And you're unsteady all the time. Like you're never steady. And so I was like, and nothing happened. And I remember his sister and my business partner saying to me, like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. Like I tried to tell him. I said to him, like, it's like, what are you doing? And he's been shirking it off, and I don't know. And like, it just nothing happened.
So strange.
And I remember just being like devastated about it. And I remember sitting in the lounge and crying my eyes out, and him ignoring me, just walking past me, and me just being like, this is a big problem.
Yeah.
And I remember convincing him to go to couples therapy because that's what you do.
Yeah.
And we went to one session, and him walking out going, we're never fucking doing that again. He was like, I'm never doing that again. He said that all we did is you just blurted out to her and talked to her, and she didn't even say anything back. She didn't even give us any indication of anything. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do therapy by myself. And I did therapy by myself for years because I was convinced it was me.
Yeah.
And he even said to me, like the whole birthday thing, it's so materialistic. Like, you are being so materialistic. And I said, even a card would have been fine.
Yeah,
like,
sorry.
A card from our son.
I don't want that much.
No,
a card?
That would have been fine. But he was like, you are being so materialistic. And this is on you. This is typical of you being spoiled. And me just being like, shit, like maybe it is me.
Yeah.
Maybe I am materialistic. Like, I have always said that I'm not the type of girl that expects a diamond ring and all that. Like, I'm happy with like a picnic in the woods.
Yeah.
And so maybe I've given off like totally the wrong vibe and totally like maybe this is completely my fault. But there were so many things like that, and there were so many things that I wasn't allowed to talk about finances because that would stress him out too much. So I wasn't allowed to ask how much money was in the bank account at the end because I used to do a budgeting sheet at the beginning, and then that was such a bone of contention that I would ever dare question where money had gone. That he's like, I'm taking hold of the finances. You just don't need to know about it. You can trust me that it's all fine. And I was like, okay, it's all fine.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it. I couldn't talk about anything, like nothing. And I was so like stressed all of the time. And then there were big things. So when you look back at that stuff, it's really easy to belittle it and say to yourself, it was nothing. I was exaggerating. I was being over the top. But then there were these big things like, for example, he'd been in the Marines, but he had never served in the Marines and he'd never seen any action. So he'd never done combat. He did training and then he got kicked out. And so he'd never done any actual training, never saw any action, no people dying or anything like that. But obviously the training's really tough. I'm not belittling the training. The training's a great big thing, and it's really rubbish and tough, and it must be really hard. But a lot of his behaviour, in my head, I would go, that is PTSD from combat. but you haven't seen combat, so I don't understand. So he'd have these like visualizations where he'd suddenly say to me, like he'd get really angry, and I'd be like, "Hey, you okay? Like, what's going on?" And he'd be like, "I just had one of those visualizations, and it was someone pulling you down a side street." And so I beat them to death, and I pummeled their head, and their head just caved in, and it was all over the street, and it was disgusting. But I'm just going to calm down from it now. And again, at the time, I was like, okay, this is fine. Like this is fine. Like, of course, like military, and
you normalize things as well because you're with that person so much. So you're like, maybe this is fine.
100%. And you know that I heard a really good analogy, which is that it's like a frog being put into water, and you put the frog into water, and then you put it on the boiling thing, and it just boils really slowly, and you're like, this water's warm. This is like getting really I'm sure this is going to be fine, but this is actually okay. Now I'm boiling. And that is what it's like. And you don't notice the temperature getting higher because it gets higher so slowly, and everything just gets like bigger,
and you get degraded more and more and more. So actually that is a really horrible place to
and you
be
love
in.
that person,
yeah,
like you adore, like that.
You've already attached yourself to them,
exactly. And you don't in that situation you would think, well, like, am I an idiot? Why didn't I just hate him and run a mile? But you don't. You like that person and you love that person. There are these little honeymoon periods in between all the tension where you have a great time and you do something, or you go abroad, or you go on holiday, and you go, oh my god, I forgot, you're fine. This is all fine. But those things, so the visualizations increased in intensity and frequency, and then there are other things. And the other thing about it is that, and again, this is something that I've found out subsequently, it's a real pattern, which is that there's, so on one side, you're a terrible dog trainer. You only know about the science. You cannot train dogs. You shouldn't ever compete with your dog. Like, oh, isn't it nice how you're getting okay at dog training now? Like, but you've also got this whole, like, no one's ever going to believe you thing going on. And like, oh, you're so naive. You're so silly. Like, you're such a, like, you're so not a, like, proper human. You know, you've got all this going on. You've got all of that going on. And then in the middle, you've got this thing where there's a Phil Spector song, right? And it's called He Hit Me and It Felt Like a Kiss, right? That's like the main lyric in it. And I so understand that because they tell you secrets that feel like secrets that are actually horrible things that make you feel totally uneasy or like pushed off balance. And so there's this thing that he said he did. He says, I only do this to people who I feel really affectionate towards. And he'd like grab my ear and pinch it, and he'd go, Nina. And I saw him do it to his family and to his friends, and it was all kind of normalized, and that's fine. And it was kind of like, I remember talking to him about it for ages and saying, I think this is a form of maybe Tourette's, because you can't help it. And he's like, oh, it's when I feel like a burst of love, I can't help but do it. And over the period of time, that escalated into pinches under my arms, into that bit that would bruise, and pinches on my leg. And at the time, and even now, I feel guilty for telling the story, because I feel like I've opened up a box of secrets, and like it was an affectionate thing, and I can't, and even though there was bruises sometimes, and he'd be like, well, it's a love bruise, and that escalated into sometimes doing it to my private parts, and me being like, I don't like it when you do that, because I don't like, we're in public, and it's like I don't like it. And again, even now, I feel like saying this to a lay person, they'll be like, oh my god, that's crazy. At the time, and even now, I doubt myself, and I go, was that just fine? Was that totally okay? And this is just me like recounting these stories and like exaggerating it. No. But then I'll tell it to someone normal, and they'll be like, no,
this is it. The importance of actually sharing what you've been through.
But you're isolated. And they prey on people who have no support system. Yeah. Who could I tell? Yeah. I didn't have parents. I didn't have a dad who was there going, knock, 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 get out, come here. Yeah. I didn't have a family where I went, look, sometimes this weird thing happens, and I don't know how to describe it or explain it.
And also, you probably don't want to, like, you feel like you're betraying them
100%
in a way.
It's a secret. It's this beautiful secret that they're telling you, and that, you know, you are. I remember even to the point where towards the end thinking to myself, like, oh, it's really sad he hasn't done that for a while.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like love. That's what it is.
But also, you're probably not getting a lot of normal affection. No. So that feels like a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. But there's things like that where there's this like secret keeping thing that happens where you feel like...
So what advice then, because there's a lot there, would you give to someone that has maybe picked up on a lot of those things you've mentioned, kind of red flags? Maybe
just
they feel like
really.
They're in a situation.
Go. Like, it's just not okay. Like, none of it. My biggest my biggest thing would be that if it doesn't feel okay, it probably isn't okay. And the trick is to know if you can talk to the person about it. That's the trick. I never said to him, this is making me feel really uncomfortable. Can you stop doing this?
Yeah.
And I'm in a very healthy relationship now, and I look back and I go, and it, like, if anything ever makes me feel uncomfortable, I'll be like, hey, like, today we had this thing, and that you did this thing, and like, and they'll, like, my partner now would be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, like, I had no idea you felt like that. And can we let's talk about it. When you're in a relationship like that, you can't, like, when there's like coercive control and that kind of emotional abuse going on, you don't ever speak up, and you always protect that person. And there were people that came around and said to me, like, is everything okay here? Like, this doesn't feel all right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, he's really nice to me. It's not, like, it really isn't a problem. And so that's definitely a problem. The other bit of advice that I would say is that there is a good reason, like a very good reason, that 70% of women that come out of these relationships fall into another relationship with another person like this. And I did that really, like, significantly. And I ended up going with a guy who I ended up having to get arrested for rape and sexual violence.
Wow.
And I was just like, I was just putty in their hands.
Yeah.
Putty in their hands, because you've normalized so much, and you're so vulnerable, and you punish yourself so badly, and you're in such a vulnerable situation. And during that period of my life, when I first left him, the post separation abuse was so much worse and so much more prevalent than the abuse in the relationship. Like, I left him and he blocked me from having access to anything locally. So I'd go boxing and he'd ring me and he'd be like, I've spoken to the boxing instructor, you're not going. And I'd go to the hair salon. I didn't have my hair cut for 1.5 years when I was with him, because you just let yourself go, because that's just what you do. I went and had my hair cut at this hair salon, and I was so pleased with it. And then within a few weeks, he was dating someone from that hair salon, and then he'd message me and be like, oh, I saw you spent 316 euros on your hair. Like, you should be looking after your son instead of doing that. They're all laughing about you behind your back. Like, I even messaged my hairdresser and was like, I know you're all laughing about me behind my back, and I feel awful. I don't want to come back to you. I'm not coming back to this hair salon anymore. Because that's how it was.
Yeah.
And it was really bad. And it was so bad that I knew I had to leave Spain. And I was lucky/unlucky that he was obsessed with the idea that I'd had an affair with this guy. And so he saw the guy, who was a friend of mine, in the car, dragged him out of the car and beat the absolute crap out of him in the parking lot. And I videoed it. And so I kind of used that and said, like, let me go home. And he was like, okay, you can go home. I'm sorry. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go home with our son. I arranged everything to go home with our son, took my son home in the summer holidays, had all my house and everything all sorted. And then he messaged me with a summons to court saying kidnapping. You're not allowed to take him out of the country. So another bit of advice would absolutely be, don't move to Spain with a partner unless you're completely aware of what the Hague Convention means, because it does mean that. And so my son then had to go back and live with him.
Oh my gosh.
I then went back and forth as much as possible. Spain don't want to let a child that's a Spanish resident out of Spain, so they gave us a 50-50 court agreement. It meant we had him 50-50, so I had to honour that, which meant I had to spend 50% of my time here, 50% of my time there. I'd been pushed out of the business we created together, obviously. So I had no way of making any money. I was scraping together enough money by, like, selling my car and, like, doing stuff that meant that I had enough money literally to get me over to Spain to see my little boy and come back here. Meanwhile, he's sending me videos of my son crying his eyes out and saying, you've done this. Like, and I didn't know what to do. Eventually, over time, my son wanted to come home. He wanted to be in England. Every time he spent any time in England, he didn't speak very good Spanish anyway. He was never a Spanish kid. And he made that so obvious that eventually my ex sent me a message saying, you can have him 100%, take him.
Wow.
I don't know, it's fine. So I took him, and he lives with me full time now. But I took him, but then, you know, it's just, I'm then the person who took the son away.
Yeah.
And the other big problem that we had was that we weren't in the public domain. Like, we're not like, under no illusion I'm some sort of celebrity. But in my business and in the industry,
People
I'm well
know you.
known.
Yeah.
You know, and so I've got like a modest but nice, like sort of 40,000 people on Facebook and things like this. And so is he. He's got more than me. He had made our relationship very, very public, which again, I think is a big red flag for people, because I think often that's a way, it's a security. It's a massive security. It's like, look how happy we are. So then now when I come back and I say we weren't happy, people go, but you, on Facebook, you looked amazing. Like, you said so many nice things about him. And you're like, yeah, I did.
It wasn't all real, okay?
It's just social media. Like, nowadays, I keep my private life so incredibly private normally. Like, I don't like talking about these sorts of things. And I don't ever put pictures of me and my partner up or anything like that, because I keep it completely, you know, because of this situation. But because of that, it was like I had an absolute onslaught of social media people being like, you are a horrible bitch and you should die. Like, you have ripped your child out of the arms of a loving dad. And I'm like, oh, if only you knew.
Yeah.
But then you come back and you feel completely deluded, because they're saying all the things that he's said to you the whole of your relationship, like you're a liar, and it's the worst.
It all sounds horrendous.
It was, but then I did loads of therapy.
I was going to say, right, so from this point,
loads of therapy.
How are we healing? How are we rebuilding your life? What happened?
So I moved to Harrogate, and that was like the biggest. So as soon as I got my son back, everything changed. So as soon as I got him back, it was like, and the thing is that when I look at the research that's done on animals when it comes to stress, if we look at like the most traumatic thing we can do to an animal, if we're studying trauma and stress, it is take a baby away from a rat, let's study the rat, right? And without a doubt, I was just horrifically vulnerable during that period, which again is probably why I fell into a second abusive relationship. And then with all the kind of post-separation abuse that was going on, he even contacted that person who raped me and said, have you got any images? I want them. It was horrific, right? But as soon as I got Santino back, everything was fine. Like, I was literally like, I need to sort out my whole life for this little human. Like, I can be a mother again. I cook him a quick breakfast every morning, even now. Like, I adore the bones of him, and he's back, and I'm so grateful for him. And as soon as I got him back, I was like, oh, I remember who I am. Like, I'm the little girl that was running around in the fields in Sussex, and I'm someone who likes bacon sandwiches in a VW camper van, and that is who I am, and I'd forgotten all of that. So I did one of the like biggest thank yous in the world goes to IDAS, which is a part of the police that deals with this type of abuse, and you have to get referred by the police. I was referred by the police to IDAS, and they do like a 10-week course where you go with other people who've been through this, and you sit in there, and that first week, and everyone's kind of looking at each other and going like, oh, my story is going to be nothing compared to yours. Like, everyone thinks that I've made all this up, and you're but everybody feels like that. And then you start telling your stories, and everyone's like, fuck, that's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember telling mine and then being like, oh, and me being like, oh, okay, this is a real thing. Like, so I did the 10-week course with them and did twice a week therapy as well. And therapy is just the best thing in the whole wide world. Like, I think it's so important for anybody, even who hasn't been through anything.
Everybody should go to therapy.
Everybody should go to therapy. Therapy is so important. The other thing that's really so important, that is the biggest cliche that you have ever heard. I hate the words coming out of my mouth. Learn to be happy by yourself.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. It is a classic. And it's one of those that when you are struggling from relationship to relationship and trying to like hide all these things and work on all this, like just this absolute chaos, and you like cling to people, like you are in the most unhealthy place. You are only going to attract unhealthiness. And you don't realize how strong you are and how you can live by yourself. Women need women. And being by yourself creates a landscape where you find other women who are also by themselves. And then you build these relationships that become like family. And suddenly you wake up in the morning, you're like, I just had the best day. And those days, and you're like, oh my God, I feel so grounded and happy. And I've done loads of things that I really love. And I chat away to my female friends, and I don't need anybody else. Like, I can just be by myself. And I never, ever, I remember having this conversation like the other way around, with my friend Hannah and her being like, maybe you just need to be by yourself for a while and just don't date and like have a really, and me being like, I'm just not that sort of person. Like I'm just not that sort of person. I think, relationships are good, and I've been in I was always in long-term relationships, but now I would honestly say to anyone, if you come out of anything, don't rush into anything new. Like just be by yourself.
Yeah.
Because the minute you truly love your own life and love who you are and how you feel about yourself, this thing called self-worth happens.
What's that?
And you're suddenly like,
never heard of it.
Oh my God, I'm actually valuable.
Hey, I'm not a horrible person.
Hey, peace is valuable and I should probably protect it a little bit.
Yeah.
The minute you get to a point where you want to protect your own peace on your own is the only time you're ready to move into a relationship. Like the only time.
I love that.
And you have to get to a point where you go, I'm not allowing any more scum to come in here. Like this is protected now. I don't care who you are.
Okay.
And the minute you do anything that is going to corrupt my peace, I will cut you off. Like I will cut you out like cancer. I don't need you in my life. The other thing is about support networks is that you realize what is normal and what isn't normal. The reason that people like that isolate you is because they shake you like a snow globe and you forget what is normal. And one of the things that really helped me, has helped me form the realization about how bad it was, is my new partner's absolutely beautiful co-parenting relationship with his ex.
Yeah.
Like, and I look at they've got children, I look at their children and they are so stable. They come from two loving parents who have put aside a breakup, formed a new, different type of relationship between the two of them, and do this incredibly impressive job of flexing and bending to help each other. And you see it in the children. Yeah. Because they're not scared to talk about their mum. No. If they're spending time with me. No. They're like, oh, mum's so great, she does this. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. They're not scared to talk about their dad, I don't imagine, when they're with their mum. Yeah. And like how important, only ever go out with someone that you would be willing to divorce and have a co-parenting relationship with afterwards.
That is a great piece of advice.
Like you really should. Like that should honestly be on some sort of placard somewhere. Yeah. Because they're like so stable and it's so like so loving. Like everything is loving. They both make sure that the kids have everything they need, and like it's just beautiful, and it's so polar opposite of what I experienced that I was like, oh my God, so this isn't normal. Like those
and
emails
this can be a thing
where he makes fun of the rape thing, that's not normal. We could be nice to each other, and we could actually have a decent relationship. And oh my God, like you do nice things, and when there's a parents' evening, you go together and you don't fight. That's like mind blowing. Wild. Like crazy. But you put the kids first. Whoa. And so that really helps. And I think that to me that was like a real light bulb moment where I thought to myself, well, like that just shows you how support networks build stability. Yeah. Because you have this baseline. Yeah. When I entered that relationship, I had no baseline. I'd lost my parents. I didn't have a base. I had no structure, no support, nothing to go, hi, you know that thing that he does when he pinches your arm? It's probably not all right. Or like lying that he's beaten the shit out of someone, that they're in hospital, and then you find out it's a lie. That's probably not okay. Not normal, yeah. Like when you break up with someone telling you you're like, I'm going to kill or destroy you, and you get to decide which. That's not just breakup blues. No. Like, but you don't know that, and you don't know that at the time. It's so easy to minimize. Yeah, it is. And that's your reality. And you think, oh, well, this is happening because you're not having those conversations with people. You don't know that it's not okay. You completely believe that you're deluded. You're like, I'm definitely deluded. Yeah. It is me. I'm the problem. I am the problem. Like I can't tell you how deep that goes. Yeah. Like how deep that goes. And especially if you're working with someone who is kind of public about everything. Yeah. Because what I suddenly realised is that he hasn't just spent that time kind of grooming me into this situation. Yeah. He spent his whole time grooming an audience. Yeah. And so then they're like, oh my God, you're terrible. You're a terrible person for taking your child. You're a terrible person for breaking up with him. Like you had such a beautiful, happy relationship. How dare you? Yeah, and it's like, oh my God, yeah, because that's been happening publicly as well the whole time, because you're a master manipulator. Yeah. And so my advice is absolutely to lean on a support network. Like the viewpoint of the people that care about you is so important. Yeah. If someone was to find your journal, classic Marple Journal question, what would you want them to read? Okay, I'd definitely want them to read. I'd want them to read, judge a person not by their behaviour, not by what they say, but by how they make you feel about yourself. And choose whether or not you're going to have them in your life based solely on that. Like, how does that person make me feel about me? That's the only thing that matters.
I love that.
Yeah.
What a great quote. You smashed that.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Jo,
That's okay.
for coming on the Marple podcast. I've really, really enjoyed speaking to you. Thank you for being so vulnerable and opening up. You're like, I've done it.
Therapy.
No, thank you. I think everyone in Marple and Marple Bridge, which is where you live at the moment, will find this super insightful and interesting. But those people that maybe are in those difficult relationships, going through grief, going through abuse, whatever situation resonates with them, it'll be super helpful. Before we finish off, promote yourself. Where can people find you if they want to work with you?
So what I do for a living is nothing related to this.
Yeah, you're like,
I train dog trainers. I train I run an academy that basically will train your average Joe person who is like a housewife or someone who is retired or someone who is a groomer or a walker, or to train them up to expert level advanced dog behaviourist. And I do that via an academy called the JRH Academy, where I teach people everything they need to know about dogs in kind of video format. So I have things that are breed specific. So if you have a troubled breed and you can buy those lectures kind of separately. So there's lectures on herding breeds and guarding breeds and all that type of stuff, as well as like just hours and hours and hours and hours of learning about dogs with how-tos and mechanical stuff and everything. So I do that. That's the JRH Academy. So that's www.therhracademy.co.uk. You can also find me on Instagram, which is Jo Rosie H. So it's just at Jo Rosie H. And on Facebook, which is Jo Rosie Huffington, the JRH Academy. I am on other social media, but I don't really like it. So they're the main social medias that I'm on. I do TikTok as well, but I don't like it.
TikTok's overwhelming.
So you don't have to worry about that.
Well, I'm sure lots of people will be following you after this. Thank you so much again. And thank you so much for listening or watching, whatever you're doing on Spotify or YouTube. If you found this episode insightful or helpful at all, please do share it with a loved one you think would also find it helpful, or someone that you know is going through something similar to what Jo's been through. If you're on Spotify, make sure to follow, rate, share. Click the notification bell to be notified when a new episode comes out. You can give it a comment as well on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Any support is really appreciated. Thank you so much for all the support so far. On socials, if you've not followed us yet, it's the Marple Journal Podcast on Instagram, or it's the Marple Journal on Facebook. If you want to get involved, if you want to be a guest, it's the Marple Journal at outlook.com. And I'll see you here again for our next episode. Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.